Um, the Bible has a rich history of people building an altar to reach out to God, to worship Him, to make sacrifices. And oftentimes, when the patriarchs in the Old Testament wanted to humble themselves before the Lord God, they built an altar and cried out at that altar. And there's a time when I built an altar and cried out to God. Margaret and I were missionaries in East Africa. We were living in Nairobi at the time, and we traveled by road to a nearby country where we were exploring uh, possibilities for mission work. And while we were there, Margaret had been having a cough and really suffering from that, but it quickly became a chest cold. And then in one day, um, she became weak, coughing. Her lungs were starting to fill up with fluid, and she was running a high fever. In the night, that's when it became very, very, very obvious we were in a serious situation. And I built an altar right beside her bed, and I cried out to God for the entire night. I was kneeling by her bed and I was crying out to God for healing, for strength, for God's mercy in her life. And in the morning, we were able to find medical care, and she was still quite weak, and we needed to get her back to Nairobi for even better medical care. And so we started out by road, and it would be like an 8 hour drive, but it took us 2 days to make that trip because she was so weak. She just couldn't ride more than about 3 or 4 hours at a time. And the Lord, however, touched her body and healed her and restored her to her strength. And we're really thankful for that. That's an example, I think, of the testing of our faith, of our commitment to our call to be missionaries, and our faith in God. I hope that when those tests come your way, you will build an altar and cry out before God.